Hello, everyone. This is ALBERTA, the BitcoinMeister, DisruptMeister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is May the 25th, 2018. Strong hand, unconfiscatable long-term thinking, deferral of gratification. All right, I guess this is the beginning of a holiday weekend. I just realized that because I'm in Norway and it's not a holiday weekend. But back in the United States, it is. So some of you are getting pumped, but this is a worldwide show. We got dudes in the chat from South Africa. We got dudes from all over. But today we've got three young Americans. Okay, we got Kenn Bozat, we got JW Weatherman, and we got Chris Solomon. So Chris and JW haven't been on the show before, but you know who JW is. Chris is this awesome, smart, wise developer dude from the Bprivate side of things, but he knows about cryptocurrency and all that stuff. So, and that's what we talk about here on the show. Remember, check out the link section below, everybody. Their links are down there. We're going to talk about all sorts of fun things. If you got questions, you can do the super chat. I'll try to look in the chat for other questions. It's really hard to manage all this stuff, and Ken will be looking in the chat. Everyone will be looking in the chat. So let's just start off. This week in cryptocurrency has been pretty wild. We had some altcoin hacks, which reminded me that there's only one Bitcoin. JW, what did you think about this week in terms of these altcoin hacks and what it means for Bitcoin, what it means for the space?
Yeah, so if you won't listen to the white hats, if you won't listen to guys like me, you're going to listen to the black hats. You're going to listen when the users actually show up. When people start driving across the bridge and it collapses, that's when you go, oh, maybe I should have listened to that engineer that had been working in this space for a long time. Maybe I shouldn't have invested in this crap coin. And if those guys don't get you, the regulators will, right? So at some point, one of those three guys will teach you the lesson that you won't learn from guys like me.
All righty. What do you have to say about that one, Chris? You're on the technical side of things.
Yeah, I think it's important that coins start looking at alternate proof of work algorithms. Personally, I've been, and the whole BitcoinPrivate team have been looking at both modifications to Equihash, which is what, so I guess, are we talking about Verge or Bitcoin Gold here, or both?
You can talk about any of them. I had myself muted there. Talk about anything.
All right, so Bitcoin Gold, I guess, is most related to BitcoinPrivate in terms of the proof of work algorithm. And I see the biggest problem is that the GPU miners don't really have an incentive or a disincentive to attack a certain network because they can just, move back to something else that's profitable to mine. So having a unique proof of work algorithm, especially in an ASIC like in Bitcoin, could be very valuable because you have people that have invested sums of money into unique machinery that secures a network. And if they destroy the network, it becomes very unprofitable for them. So the economic incentive is definitely there in Bitcoin. But I think there's certain other proof of work algorithms that look very interesting that could also sort of secure a network like Bitcoin is secure.
Well, the problem is that nobody's going to invest in a crap coin any serious money. So you have to, first of all, you have to have ASICs for there to be any chance, right? So it doesn't really matter what proof of work algorithm you pick. It's gonna end up being mined by specialized hardware. I think the Monero stuff has demonstrated that painfully. I called that stuff, and it's just obvious, right? But I called that stuff in my debate with Cobra. I called it with the Monero guys and told Fluffy Pony about it. They still did it. Now we've seen it in the wild. Like, there's no question that you're going to have specialized hardware get involved. And from there, you have to say, well, I got to have specialized hardware, and I've got to have enough hash power to where I can't be attacked, right? And there's no There's nobody that's smart enough to spend billions of dollars on hardware and stupid enough to invest in one of these crap coins. So it's just never going to be secure unless Bitcoin falls apart and we have to go back to the drawing board. But all of the brains, all the smart money, 9 out of 10, and I'm being generous, solid engineers and smart entrepreneurs are focused on Bitcoin. So these guys just don't have a chance.
Ken, do you have any thoughts on this subject? I mean, they're getting pretty technical here.
But I can sum it up. Yeah, let's take all that techie stuff and get it out of here, man. How about everyone needs to stop looking for the next Bitcoin and realize Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. We got SegWit coming in the house next. Lightning, Atomic Swaps right around the corner, guys. Bitcoin BTC is the next Bitcoin. And that's really what people were asking, right? Like, what's the next Bitcoin? It's Bitcoin. Stop looking at the alts. Look at Bitcoin.
Dude, I love that you use that line. I use that line too. I guess Andreas came up with that line and we're all using it. By the way, Dan Williams in the super chat, thank you for the $4.20. He says, hey, Ken. Yeah, because Ken is associated with 420 and all that. We're going to get to that in a second, people. We're going to get to that. Everybody, we got a lot of live viewers here. Pound that like button. Check out the link. Subscribe to the channel. We're here every Friday with This Week in Bitcoin. Sorry to interrupt the technical discussion there. JW or Chris, do you have any more technical thoughts on what you guys were saying?
Just talking to the community, I don't think ASICs are necessarily, I don't think people necessarily think that they're a bad thing, but they think that centralization of hash power is sort of the biggest detriment to moving to ASICs. So in terms of Equihash, all of these chips are now being produced by Bitmain, which leaves that power centralized in one company. If you could just go to a Best Buy and buy, this coin's ASIC off the shelf, I think a lot of people would start thinking more highly of ASICs because you start approaching that thermal threshold.
You're totally right, man. I mean, you got to get to the point where the specialized hardware is commoditized. But the question is, how do you do that? Do you do that by playing games with the proof of work? And the answer is no. You want to get to ASICs as fast as possible. Then you need those ASIC manufacturers to make profits because that'll attract competition. And it takes time, right? Bitmain had a major role in Bitcoin's history because they were, one of the first that invested hard and they got to enjoy a lot of profits. But if you do anything to disrupt those profits, all the competitors that are seeing that blood in the water and wanting to come in and produce ASICs because of those profits will be scared away. And that's exactly why Bitmain and Cobra have been working so hard to try to trick the Bitcoin network into doing a proof of work change. And, they've been somewhat successful. They've suckered at least, a couple reputable people into thinking that works. So, but if you understand the economics of the way that this stuff gets built, that, we're fortunate with Bitcoin that we got through that stage where we could have really been easily attacked. Now we're beyond that. And we're seeing things get commoditized, and that's great. But for some other coin that doesn't really have any real value, right? I mean, all these other coins, the fundamental problem is it's all open source software, right? So everybody can copy each other's work. And so far, the only work that's been copied is people copying the work of the Bitcoin devs, right? The Bitcoin open source project into these crap coins. There hasn't been a single instance of that flowing the other way, which is yet more evidence that just shows all the brain power, all the intellectual effort that matters is all being spent on Bitcoin. And if some crap coin makes a mistake or gets lucky or just falls off a log and does something worthwhile, they're going to incorporate it into Bitcoin. So any smart investor knows this, right? Any smart investor has at least some semblance of understanding of what's going on in open source software. And that's just going to make it impossible for one of these crap coins. That and the fact that, we just talked about proof of work needing to be commoditized. I mean, you guys are screwed.
I love this guy. He assumes investors care about the tech.
No, that
would be a good assumption. If investors, you said investors.
Smart investors.
Smart investors.
He said smart.
Yeah, no, I mean, they do, man. And there's a lot of dumb investors in the space. And I'm not saying that
most.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I'm not even saying that the wall of institutional money that we're all looking for is, super intelligent people. I'm just saying that they're a little bit above average intelligence. They're certainly above the average investor, and you're not going to, you might get a Silicon Valley guy like Peter Thiel to make a mistake and throw a little bit of money into Ethereum, but you're not going to get very many of those guys to make that mistake, because there's just too much knowledge of all of the stuff that I just described to really permeate and result in any of these crap coins being long-term successes.
What happens if Bitcoin Cash rises in price to the point where it's closer to 50-50 in terms of SHA-256 ASIC power?
Then all of the people that invested in Bitcoin Cash will become even poorer, right? The more people that throw money at, let me give you an analogy. If we had two bridges and one was engineered well and could stand up and function and didn't have false claims, and the other one was a complete cluster of hookers and blow and CSW insulting the continent of Africa, and then you said, well, what's going to happen if that bridge becomes almost half as popular as the other one? It's going to fall over, right? Or more people are going to lose money investing in it. It's not going to magically become a stable, secure bridge.
Well, I want to bring up one thing about Bcash right now that we got into that subject. And that is, there have been people that have been frustrated that it appears that CNBC and maybe some other outlets and people have been pumping it for their own, who knows why. And this has inspired people to buy it that wouldn't have bought it, and that the SEC should get involved or something. Me personally, I think it's buyer beware. This is the Wild Wild West. We're going to have all sorts of people pumping all sorts of coins. Yes, CNBC is everyone knows CNBC. So when they talk about something, it makes a difference. But to get the SEC, to get the government involved, I'm not with that. What do you think about this, Ken?
I think everybody wanted the main media to be talking about Bitcoin all the way until they started talking about Bitcoin Cash, right? Like, oh, wow, we got another article in the media about Bitcoin. Everyone loved it until the media didn't agree with us. I don't care if the media agrees with us or not. I think the consensus will form its own opinion of that. I mean, you're talking about the same people who told everybody to buy Ripple at $3.80 and sell it at 70 cents. These are the same people that are talking about buying Bitcoin Cash. So their reputation's set in stone, in my opinion. You just go back to episode X, where they were pumping Ripple, and episode X, where they were apologizing deeply about pumping Ripple. So we'll see what happens when it turns out Bitcoin Cash isn't Bitcoin, and we'll see how their apology letter looks. It probably looks something like BP's oil spill apology letter. We're so sorry. We're sorry. But no, seriously, I think everybody was excited when the media started talking about Bitcoin, and now they want the SEC to get involved because they're not agreeing with us about what Bitcoin is. I think we got to support what we talk about: censorship resistance, immutability. So don't try to censor the media. Let them talk rubbish if they want. I think we're going to let people finally eat some rat poison without having that do not eat label in the box. And we're going to find out what society's like after a few generations of that. Financially, hopefully people wisen up.
Personal responsibility is what I say.
And accountability, right?
Don't blame your purchase on CNBC. What do you think, JW?
I think it's fraud, man. I think if we had any kind of a functional justice system, he would be behind bars temporarily until he started making those restitution payments to all the people he deceived into making bad decisions. So I mean, it's just the same if you sell somebody a banana and it turns out it's got rat poison in it, right? There should be consequences to lying and tricking somebody into giving you their money. It's theft, right? But we don't have that, so he'll probably get away with it.
When you say he, are you talking about the guy on CNBC, or are you talking about
Well, I was thinking about Brian Kelly specifically, and the reason that I'm thinking about him is that I'm relatively new to the space, so I didn't know about this, but I guess years ago he created his own crap coin called Nautilus or something like that. Like I don't know, maybe it was gonna run on, like proof of work in a running machine. I don't know what the stupid thing was about, but it was a joke. And now he's on CNBC pumping Ripple and Bcash and all this other crap. So I think it's pretty obvious there's some money flowing there. And in a normal functional society, there'd be some kind of an investigation, and his ass would be dragged before court. I think none of that's going to happen though, unless some rich people really get burned, in which case all of that will happen. But probably the worst that can happen is that people just get more and more disgusted with CNBC, and their value becomes more and more diluted because they're just selling out the brand name, right? Like Brian Kelly's taken the CNBC name and he's getting paid by making it less valuable.
No, don't get rid of them. I love contrarian investing. So like whenever they're pumping something, you should be doing the opposite.
Ooh, that's a good point, actually.
No. I mean, look, if you're just in this game for money, then dumb money is great, right? You can slosh it around, you can make suggestions, and you can profit from that. But I'm an abolitionist, right? I want to make sure that future generations don't get conscripted and sent to Syria or Afghanistan or end up at the fucking sorry, I'm not supposed to cuss on this one.
It's all right. Keep going.
And end up at the dome guarding people that are American citizens, like my buddy Rick that I just talked to yesterday. Like that's what I'm in this game for. So I want us to adopt a secure money. That's why I hate stuff like Ripple. I hate stuff like Ethereum because it slows that adoption. I hate all of the altcoins that don't actually work and claim to work. They just cause marketplace confusion and slow down what really needs to happen, which is the destruction of the Federal Reserve System and the war machine that's produced by it.
Real quick, you said Rick, and you were talking about the dome. Were you talking about Rick from Louisiana, who's in Colorado now?
Yeah, he's on Block Digest.
Yeah, he's been on the show. Let's give him a shout out. Pound that like button for Rick, man. You know him, I know him. He's been on the show, and I met him in person in Colorado. He's a great guy. I'm actually going to do a podcast episode with him soon because his story about what he went through in the military is like the most vivid description of why we do not want monopoly services for anything, but especially stuff like security, because monopolies always give you the opposite of what you want. If you have a monopoly that's trying to keep you from getting shot, they're going to be, you're getting shot. If you have a monopoly delivering the mail, you're going to pay more for it and your mail's not going to get there. So I'm ideologically motivated, right? Like I'm an abolitionist. I see this whole system as the modern day version of slavery. I see the people in Africa starving as a result of trade embargoes. We're keeping those people, in basically an ancient civilization because we're not letting them sell their agricultural products abroad and build up anything. And then we throw them $5 here and there and make ourselves feel good. I don't give a crap about trying to get a Lambo, right? A Lambo is not going to keep me from dying from cancer in 20 years. It's going to be because we freed the freaking economy. And instead of running around doing everything, we're actually going to improve things and build tools that save our lives. So, you guys enjoy the crap coins, but it's not my bag, man. All right.
I think competition is really important to driving new features into the cryptocurrency ecosystem, though. Bitcoin.
I would love to see that, dude. Give me one example of one feature that has ever been true for, and I'll shut up.
Litecoin, SegWit, Bitcoin, SegWit.
I think private sequence are going to be important.
Yeah, but that hasn't happened yet. And SegWit is a crappy example because it was, like Adam Back said when he was asked about it, testnet is Bitcoin's testnet. We don't need Litecoin to test our code. And that is the best example that you guys can give. It doesn't check out. Example.
Hey, I do like, what you said about this isn't about getting Lamborghinis. I agree. There's too many people stuck and mired in a system, in this welfare state system or whatever you want to call it, and we're not making progress. If we get people, doing well from Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, freeing themselves, they're going to come up with other technologies that are going to improve this world. And I agree, it's about curing cancer. It's not about buying Lamborghinis here. But if you do well, do well for yourself. But don't go too wild yet, people. Let's take this think long-term. Don't be impulsive. No impulsive buys. And by the way, JW, I'm going to ask you real quick. You made a reference before. You said you're relatively new to the space. You're not. I mean, you've been around. How long have you been around the space for? You're modest.
No. I mean, only about 7 months, man.
Really?
I did. I mean, I've been in software security for about 20 years, and about 7 months ago, I decided I was finally going to take a look at Bitcoin and do a threat model. And when I wrote the threat model, I was like, "Holy crap, this thing works!" And it was a big revelation. And I'd been studying Austrian economics and software security for a long time, so I was well prepped for it. But yeah, man, as far as being in the space, pretty new.
Dude, yeah, you were very well prepped for it, because I mean, when you speak, it seems like you've been around. I thought you were like going to say, "Oh, I've only been around since 2015 or something." Like, I mean, you tell the truth, dude. Wow. But no, you for a newbie, you've been around. What you needed to learn in the past, you already learned to be fully ready for this space. So good. This is we're learning things here. Now, since we're talking about altcoins and whatnot, let's just, and we talked about privacy. Chris made a reference to privacy. I'm not going to talk about all the drama that's involved with this Bprivate stuff. I want to talk about
what drama is that, Adam?
I know we're not just people with tweets and all that stuff. I mean, you could talk about it if you want to, but I want to know about what you've done for the Trezor and for the Ledger Nano. You're the dude who's written, who's hopefully will get the Bprivate able to be stored on the Trezor and the Ledger. And the reason I think this is noteworthy is because as holders of Bitcoin, whether we like it or not, we get these crypto dividends. We get these forks. And sometimes it's easy to split. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easy to store. Sometimes it's not. Chris is a dude who could probably create a freaking splitter for the Trezor. Could you do that? Do you think you could create a tool that would allow people who have their Bitcoin on the Trezor to split their Bprivate from it?
Yeah, it's just a matter of changing the derivation path for the HD wallet on there. I don't know if everyone here knows how Trezor and Ledger wallets work, but basically there's 256 bits of entropy, and that's used sort of as a seed for generating private keys. And in order to generate those private keys, there's this hierarchical deterministic path that has a bunch of different variables. One of them is, is this Bitcoin? And then another one is, is this a different coin? So for Bprivate, at least, we use a different derivation path. But since you merged, or in Bitcoin Private, we merged the UTXO set of Bitcoin into it, you can just change that derivation path, which you can do in our Electrum wallet, to Bitcoin, and then you can see your balances and spend it from there. So the functionality is already built into Ledger. We've launched the Bitcoin Private Ledger app, so you can claim any Bitcoin you have there. And Trezor, we're waiting on them to put out official firmware. Right now, you have to kind of like compile the firmware yourself and then load it onto the wallet manually. But splitting, yeah, it's not really that difficult once you already have the front end written.
Wow. So I want to say one thing. With the work that you've done with the Trezor, do you think they'll actually, do you think one day on the Trezor we'll see the pull down menu and there'll be an option for Bprivate on there?
I mean, from talking to them, that's what they're working on, and I think they said they're going to try and launch it this summer or later this year. They wanted us to have full SegWit implementation at first. They might have dialed it back a little bit, but we're rebasing Bitcoin Private's code, so basically adding ZK snarks onto the Bitcoin core code base this summer. So once that happens, we'll have full SegWit support, and I think they'll be a lot faster to release that firmware and have that pull down, like you said.
Well, this would, I mean, anyway, everyone knows I like the Trezor. Everyone knows that I'm very conservative about splitting whatever crypto dividend. I've only, I've got my Bitcoin on my Trezor. They had the splitter for the Bcash and for the Bgold. So that's what I got. But I won't do any others until there's that option on the Trezor. So a question for you though is, I really admire you for doing this work, for being proactive. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that there are a lot of other coins out there that could do exactly what you did, but just don't do it? They don't have people to do it, and that the Trezor would probably accept them if all the work was already done for them?
So Trezor specifically is a little bit more conservative with the kind of coins they support. They have to see like a large community behind it. They have to see like a stable network and code base. So their firmware releases are much different than the way Ledger releases individual apps for different cryptocurrencies. So you kind of have to like build that community. You have to build pressure for people to want to be able to claim their Bitcoin dividends in form of BitcoinPrivate here. So it's not a simple matter. Like the actual codes for the device wasn't too difficult to write. The front end is more difficult, and then building the infrastructure to support spending these transactions is also very difficult. So it's not like you can just flip a switch or copy some code. You have to kind of build up an entire ecosystem, a community, in order to get these things merged in.
Yeah. So clearly there was a lot of interest in the Bprivate. Trezor realized that. A lot of people realize that it's not your average crypto dividend. And, you know, we still see today there's controversy and drama around it and who knows what. So is there anything else you want to say about any technicalities behind Bprivate, anything that's coming up, anything that people be interested in, just any news that you are privy to, because you are a technical guy and everything, and people want to hear beyond the drama?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work is on the wallet side of things, but I'm also doing a lot of investigation into different proofs of work. Specifically, I was asking questions on to the Ethereum community. The Ethereum core devs actually answered some of my questions about this new Prague proof of work, which is called Programmatic proof of work. It's designed to be very difficult for ASICs to gain a significant advantage over GPUs because it uses more of the GPU than other proofs of work. So I asked them, you know, a few questions. They answered it on their last Ethereum core developer group. So that's one thing I was looking at. And then the other big thing we're doing is rebasing our code off of the latest Bitcoin core codes, which has been a huge undertaking. But I think we brought down our blockchain syncing time to like less than an hour by doing that. It's been a huge performance improvement, and we can actually like sync every block now on that Bitcoin or the latest Bitcoin code.
Dude, Chris, you're a very proactive, in motion dude, and that's why I got you onto this show. And you know, when I start seeing these tweets about how this dude is just working on the Trezor implementation and on the Ledger, I was like, oh, this is great. They're just stepping up. Anyone can step up, but this guy actually stepped up and did it. So I mean,
well, I've actually been in Bitcoin since 2010 when I mined my first block. But I kind of fell off of it after the whole Mt. Gox thing happened, and then I came back when Zcash first launched. So I was kind of absent from cryptocurrencies for quite a number of years.
Well, I just wanted to ask: are you aware that Litecoin sold themselves on pretty much the same story of being ASIC resistant, and that this is like a really old sad story that just keeps getting told year after year after year with some other new thing, and then eventually that same coin goes, you know, we can't be ASIC resistant, right? Like, wait, Monero's going to be saying that anytime now, right? It was a bad idea. We can't be ASIC resistant, just like Litecoin and everybody else that said it, to my knowledge.
I don't think long-term ASIC resistance is actually going to be a thing. I think Bitmain's ASIC miners are going to be more general purpose, generation to generation, and they're going to be able to handle different proof of work changes much more easily. And it's going to be a different space in just like next year, because Samsung is also getting into the same game. So
is this, I mean, just I'll ask it really harshly because I don't know how else to say it. Is this just a marketing game because people like to mine, and if they feel like they're able to mine, they're going to have more skin in the game, they're going to tend to invest in this coin? Because it's certainly not a security game.
No, I think
like this guy.
I think it's just buying time until we can get ASICs in the hands of like general consumers more widely. So we're trying to buy time so that we can keep mining decentralized until the point where, you can go into, Best Buy or Costco.
But that makes no sense, because it can be as decentralized as you want it to be. But if you have very little hash power and you don't have ASICs, then you're not ASIC. You're like, your network isn't ASIC hard. So that means anybody can create an ASIC and overnight create centralization and own your coin, right? So it doesn't make sense from a security standpoint to say we're going to have a gun-free zone and everybody's going to use sticks until in the future when guns are really cheap, because guys with guns will show up, and that's the whole point of having guns.
I'm just talking specifically about Equihash algorithm right now. But if SHA-256 is the right way to go, and there's really nothing holding our community back from moving to ASICs other than, the community doesn't want it. But, the community.
But dude, they don't want it because guys like you
yeah.
are saying it's a good idea, right? Like you're a developer compared to everybody else that's listening right now. You're way more technical. And when you're saying that being ASIC resistance and doing this stuff is a good idea, you're causing the community to want to be ASIC resistant or not be run on ASICs. If you told them the truth, which is we are completely at the mercy of anybody that feels like kicking our butt right now until we get ASIC commodities, and so we need to push to that point as fast as possible, like Bitcoin, then they would probably agree with you too, right? Like you guys, you got to take some responsibility for having so much credibility.
I mean, Bitcoin went through the same trajectory. They started out CPU and then GPU, and then ASICs were developed. So it's sort of, you want to kind of follow that trajectory because people get more and more skin in the game as you go down that line.
But that's the marketing side of it, right? That's trying to get people in. From a security standpoint, you should say, we want to get through that process as fast as possible. From a marketing standpoint, you want to go through that process as slow as possible.
All right, let's we're gonna move on from the topic right now because Ken's got to talk. I mean, I gotta get Kenn in here. But before we get Kenn, I just want to say everybody check out the links below, because on Tuesday here in Bergen, Norway, I'm going to be speaking at the meetup, and then also check out the links to see my schedule in Alberta. I'll be speaking 4 days in a row in Alberta at the what's it called? The Bitcoin Rodeo, and then 2 other events. So check that out if you're in Canada. That's July.
You're going to Bitcoin Rodeo? I'll see you there, bro.
Dude, dude, it's going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome.
I just got done 3 crypto conferences this month. Of course I'm going to Canada.
So this is a great, and that'll be in July. July 9th and 10th is, 9th and 10th is the
Are you going to World Crypto Con in Las Vegas in November?
Who knows? But well, I only go to these things when they, let me speak and stuff, basically.
Oh, they're going to have to because it's my birthday. I'll make it happen.
No. Okay, well, let's now that we're on the top, and this is a great segue. We're talking about events. You were at that big consensus event, okay? And so there's a viral video going around of you getting into a Philadelphia street rage cursing match with an ICO type of guy. What the heck happened there? Who was that guy, and what was going on? Tell us your tale.
All right, I want to get the backstory. So about in November, YouTube started demonetizing cryptocurrency content. A lot of us guys in YouTube knew that we started to see a lot less AdSense and a lot less monetizable content that we were creating. So I went and started posting I need more things like Steemit. I need to figure out how to get away from YouTube because they're demonetizing me. I found this company called Clout.io that was doing an ICO for a platform that was supposed to launch before the ICO launched. I was like, well, that's interesting. So I reached out, I interviewed the founder. In our interview, he confirmed that the platform will be usable. I'll be able to upload and stream and consume content on the platform before the ICO launches. And I was like, cool, that's awesome. And I actually got in their like channels and started talking, and I negotiated a way into making sure like somehow I was going to be the first guy to live stream on their platform. And I went to their ICO launch party, and with the founder sitting next to me, just problem after problem. The guy I called out in the viral video, I couldn't get on the platform. The platform kept having bugs, and they still launched their ICO anyway. So I left and went home and started a live stream and made it a pretty big deal. Like, yo, this guy is scamming you actively. I was at the bar getting drunk while he was having glitches for his ICO that wasn't even supposed to be launched because his product isn't launched yet. There's a lot of red flags here, guys. Run. And a lot of people listened, and a lot of people got burnt because my audience isn't that great and isn't that big, so I couldn't warn that many people. So I kept it up. I kept being very vocal about what he did to people with Clout.io. And he was threatening me on Facebook and tagging me in posts saying that he was going to assault me. He was going to have me taken care of, or the next time I see him, I should be worried. And there was a lot of threats up until the time I actually saw him at Consensus and started a live stream video and started calling him a scammer right there on the Consensus lobby floor in front of 8,500 people. And he did no such thing. He didn't attack me. He didn't have me taken care of. He called me a lot of obscenities, but he didn't answer any of my questions. My questions were along the lines of what happened to everyone's money, what happened to the project, what happened to the platform. He just kept calling me names, which is really funny because I think Aurora or one of these exchanges listed the token the day before I called him out. And they tagged me in a tweet. They said, thank you for calling this guy out, bringing him to our attention. We've looked into his coin and it has been delisted. So it's not like I'm just saying this guy's a scammer to call somebody a scammer. I'm having people like these exchanges do their own due diligence and now realizing that they have scam coins listed and they have officially delisted after their investigation, which makes me think, what is the original process like to list a coin? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't you do whatever you did then to figure out it wasn't a scam first? But that's a different topic. And yeah, so at Consensus, security came up around me because we made a pretty big scene. And I didn't technically have like a real ticket in, so I didn't really argue with security. And they escorted me off the property and said the police have been contacted. They didn't like keep me there, but they did just say, hey, dude, we had to call the cops. He was threatening you. If you get attacked, we're responsible. So you had to leave the property, and we called the cops for your safety. I literally hopped in an Uber and just went back home like 2 hours to New Jersey. I was like, bye, New York. It was crazy. But yeah, that video has about 500,000 views on Twitter right now. And a lot of people have been reaching out to me. I am a little worried about what he might do with some of those extra funds at this point, because he did start a company. And this is why I felt like I had to say something and do it the way I did, because he started a new company and it's called ICO Services, where he's going to tell you how he scanned people with his original ICO and show you the exact steps on how to do it too. So like, that's dangerous, especially at Consensus. How many dinner parties was that guy at? How many people did he potentially have ready to, like, he was a scammer. He was scamming other scammers, setting them up to scam people. It was a cesspool event, and I felt like I had to do something. And yeah, my Philly broke out. I definitely was a little embarrassed of some of the language. I definitely stooped to his level after halfway through the conversation because of the antagonizing. But I know it's like, if we self-govern at these events, we don't need the government to intervene. People make jokes. 90% of the people at Consensus were scammers, bro. You didn't really do any. I was like, yeah, you're right. Maybe 90% of people at Consensus were scammers, but 8,500 people, how many called anybody out about it? How many people made it known that that guy is bad for the industry? I'll wait, because I feel like I might have been the only one, and I'm being crucified for it. It's insane.
Well, let me tell everyone, the link is below if you want to watch it. I think, Ken, you going into, well, before you got involved with this ICO, before you met this guy originally, when everything was peaceful, did you not feel or know that 90% of ICOs do end up being scams, basically?
Yeah, this was the first one I really tried to work with and you're right. I definitely knew that it was a good shot, but the fact that I had on film the guy who founded it and funded it saying on film on live stream interview that there would be a product that could be used before the ICO, it gave me a little sense of like security theater. Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. He wouldn't have said that if he, didn't mean it. And now I really realize, like, in crypto, people will say whatever it takes to get that ICO money. Like, I believe nobody until the platform actually exists. And even after that, I'm a little skeptical. I've done a lot of interviews recently, and my big question is, how do we know you're not a scam waiting to happen? And a lot of founders are upset, but that's the truth. How do we know?
Well, I was saying these ICOs, 90% of them fail or are meant to be scams anyway. And these big corporate events, not the rodeo, hopefully not, but the consensus, it's going to be mostly ICO.
Tickets, dude.
It's going to be mostly ICO type of stuff. So this is the nature of the space. I mean, whether we like it or not, I think all of us here are very hardcore type of guys, hardcore Bitcoin. But the space is dominated by people who are just in it for short-term gains, ICO type of stuff. They don't know, they don't care about Bitcoin. It's, we say Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. They know how upset you would have been, Adam, at Consensus if you paid $3,000 for a ticket and you found out there was not one location in Consensus to learn about BTC Bitcoin, to learn about SegWit, to learn about the Lightning Network, to learn about Lightning nodes, to learn about atomic swaps. There was nowhere in Consensus to learn about Bitcoin. There was a Bitcoin.com booth, but they were promoting BCH as Bitcoin. And I made a video asking them, hey, how do you feel about misleading people into sending Bitcoin BTC to Bitcoin Cash BCH addresses? And Roger Ver writes an article about me on Reddit calling me a scammer, calling other people scammers, and still nobody has answered my question. I would love to know how people at Bitcoin.com feel misrepresenting Bitcoin as BCH and people losing funds sending Bitcoin BTC to a Bitcoin Cash BCH address. There was nowhere to learn that difference. They didn't even want to bring it up. They were like, here, open a Bitcoin wallet, and it was BCH. It's the wild, wild west. People need to personal responsibility, learn, do their own research. I want to segue into something that JW is going to talk about. You're talking about ICOs here, Ken. All these people are trying to fund their companies through ICO. I mean, it's ludicrous. JW, you've got an idea here. You've got this MathBot thing here. You're not ICOing. You're just making a project, and you're going to let it go the way it's going to go. Tell us about this MathBot thing, and if you have any comments on what Ken said about ICOs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with ICOs is that they're taking advantage of the fact that governments have created this massive pool of dumb money because none of these people have had the opportunity to make investment decisions before. They've always had a broker to a broker to a broker. And, they've been told, you just put 3% of your salary in a 401k account, have Bob take care of it for you, and you'll be fine. And then Bob finds ways to screw you over that you don't know about. And, every 7 years you lose your entire retirement fund, right? But they're all conditioned like this. And they were conditioned from the time they were 5 years old, right? Like we indoctrinate as good as any civilization ever has in this system of fraud. So now they do have the opportunity to buy this stuff. You don't have to go to Charles Schwab and they tell you, no, you can't invest in the gas station down the street. You could just do it. So there is definitely an element of we're just going to have to go through that growing pain, and the public is going to have to be educated. They're going to have to actually experience what it's like to be adults and, put on their big boy pants and make decisions. And they've been prevented from doing that up until now. So it is unfortunate, but it is the reality that we're in. But yeah, so MathBot, we're experimenting with different things to try to fight back on the ICO front as well, because I do think that there's something valuable about being able to have digital equity, right? I don't think anybody's got it right yet, but that concept in and of itself is not a problem. And the concept of people being free to invest in stuff is not a problem. Like I said before, I think the real problem is we don't have a functional justice system. to go after people that are fraudsters. And these guys don't have experience. So like, you know, a project like MathBot, if you were trying to raise money from angel investors or something, and I outlined this on GitHub, you would have to spend at least like $50,000 of your own time and money just to even be able to attract a co-founder, right? Just to be able to show one other person in the world that you're serious about this, and it's not just another dude with a beer and an idea. So these ICOs, they don't even do that. They don't even get to that point where they sort of have even $50,000 of time and energy invested in building a product so that you can put your hands on it. And you can see the limitations, right? The further along a product is in this space, the less money it raises. And the answer to that is because it's not just all hope and potential. There's actual code, and code isn't a magic bullet for everything. So, all right, that's my rant on ICOs. But MathBot is all about teaching kids math and programming. So what we did is we built a web application. You can go play with it right now if you go out to mathbot.com. And the purpose of MathBot is to teach kids math and programming as they're problem solving. So the analogy that I use is right now we tell kids, all right, we want you to learn math. And it's like giving them a saw and telling them, we just want you to cut this board at arbitrary positions for the next 20 minutes. It's just absolute torture. It's not productive. And it's like totally against human nature to want to do that. So what MathBot is all about is giving you like a puzzle, giving you a task, giving you a problem, and you have to learn math and programming concepts in a very slow incremental way to be able to accomplish and solve that problem. And the thing that we want to layer on top of that we're working on right now is education games are never as fun as non-education games, right? So we need a little bit of extra motivation in order to scale out as broadly as we'd like. So what we're doing is we're adding the ability for like parents or grandparents to buy a level. So you could buy something like Algebra 1 for your niece, and maybe it's $50 in Bitcoin, and then your niece would get $2 or $3 every time she passed a level as she mastered Algebra 1 until she got like 90% of the money back in Bitcoin.
Wow. So we're talking about a way to, young kids are going to get their hold of their first Bitcoin or pieces of Bitcoin by learning math here.
I hope so. That would be awesome. I mean,
so they can buy their first ICO.
Hopefully not.
Wow. Anybody remember that game Math Blaster? I'd be a Bitcoin millionaire if I learned algebra playing that at the local library, and I didn't even care for math. I just played playing video games, and it was that math video game.
Math Blaster, yeah. There's Treasure Mountain. That was pretty fun too.
The last time I played that, I was 25, and it was to show a kid, and I accidentally played it for like a half hour demoing it.
Nice. Yeah. So this is a little bit different than that. It's actually a fully functional programming language. So you can create functions. You can create functions within functions. You can have like 5,000 commands. You may be able to build a web browser out of.
Have you ever done the AOL profile builder back in the day? You have to use HTML and Java and stuff like that to build your own profile for AOL's AIM Instant Messenger.
Yeah. This is a little bit different. You only have 4 commands that you can get. You can turn right. You can pick something up. You can put something down.
Well, I'm just saying, I knew a lot of kids in like even 5th grade that were doing HTML coding to build their AOL Instant Messenger profiles. And people, it was like, that's so beyond kids, and nobody even stuck with it. We're all like still not coders, but we did coding. So what you're doing, you're right. It's like, kids' brains sponge. It would be like a second language to them, coding. Dude, this is awesome. And how do I get my niece or nephew involved like tomorrow?
So it's totally free, man. Just go out there to mathbot.com, click sign up, and you're good to go. And you can play the first, the 15 or so levels that we have up there. And we'll be putting another 30 or so out in the next week. We're a little bit behind on that, but we're putting out new levels all the time. We don't have the payment part set up yet, so you won't be able to, incentivize your niece with Bitcoin yet. You could do it manually though.
Yeah, manual. I was gonna say I could probably do that myself. I already have them some crypto.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, man, go out there, check it out, and give us some feedback. Let us know if you get stuck on something or if something's not clear. We still have a ton of work to do, but it's definitely, I would say within the next month, conservatively, confidently, you'll be able to have your niece go all the way from not knowing anything to writing recursive functions and if statements, conditionals and stuff like that. And I'd bet that like from scratch, based on what I've seen, she'll be there within 3 weeks tops.
That's such a better use of having a kid in the house than saying, go get me a beer out of the fridge or change the channel on the TV. It's like, yo, I wrote this code earlier. Can you go proof check it? Thank you. Go do your chores now.
Totally. Then they can create an ICO for you.
I want to. It's only going to be Bitcoin. You're not going to accept any altcoins or anything like that. Or
no rat poison for the kids, man. We're only going to accept Bitcoin, and we're only going to pay out in Bitcoin. And we want to. We actually, part of the reason that we're delaying a little bit is we want to do it on Lightning, and we haven't quite figured out the user experience flow on that yet. But we want the. And I think it's a good use case to understand one of the reasons that Bitcoin matters. Because we absolutely couldn't do this before cryptocurrency. I started working on this like 2 years ago. I got like over a year into it, and then I could get kids to play it, and they really liked it if they had a parent that was saying like, "I'll buy you an ice cream" or something. Because it doesn't compete with Angry Birds. It's not that damn fun, right? And so I shelved it because you have to, like, online games, they're either like 50,000 people are playing them or they just don't exist, right? So I shelved it, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. And then when I got into Bitcoin, I was like, I could do this. I could actually reward the kids in Bitcoin. If I tried to do it with credit cards, all the kids would have to be merchant processors. Like that, that's just not going to happen. And
I was just talking to somebody about that. Like, oh, your 5-year-old doesn't have a bank account, right? Well, here, download this app. There you go.
Yep, exactly. And even if they did find a way to accept money through Venmo or something like that, the chargeback problem that exists on all the payment platforms other than Bitcoin would be impossible. So like somebody would give me $50 and then I'd give them $45 back, and then they'd call their bank and they'd just reverse it, and I'd be out a clean $45. So there was really no way to do this before Bitcoin. And I'm excited that it kind of highlights that, and also, I cared about math and programming for kids before I knew about Bitcoin, so I'm pretty excited about it.
It's a great case for the chargeback. That there are no chargebacks here, and it makes it work. You would not be able to do this otherwise. I'm gonna get Chris in here real quick. Chris, did you have any thoughts on the ICOs? Did you have something to say about ICOs?
I was just going to say that. I think there are a lot of psychological tricks that a lot of these ICO peddlers are trying to use. I mean, just the fact that they're using cryptocurrency amounts instead of like US dollar amounts kind of disassociates you from spending actual money. And then also that you're not actually handing over like anything physical. Like when you enter into an investment contract, you'd sign a piece of paper. All of these things kind of disassociate you from you actually spending your money for something. And that, coupled with like people seeing all of these ICOs like going to the moon and having that fear of missing out, kind of puts a lot of people into the place of making very dumb decisions with their money. Even people who normally wouldn't make bad decisions could find themselves making those.
Okay, very, very good point. We're getting here at the end of the show here, so it's time for everybody to share anything that hasn't been said, anything they wanted to add.
I have a thought for the group, or a question actually for the group.
Go ahead.
What are your guys' thoughts on the manifestation of that HBO Silicon Valley's Pied Piper coin? Like, I feel like
I got my airdrop. I got the airdrop.
It's just a beautiful combination of imagination meets reality, and like somebody became God and manifested this imaginary thing into our reality. I think it's a great meme coin. Like, it's just hilarious. But I wanted to know what people think, because everyone's like, oh, it's a scam, oh, it's this, and I'm like, but it's what it really is at its core is it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get the joke at first. I thought the guy was just trying to like make a bunch of money.
Yeah, it was an airdrop, so that's why I like it.
Yeah, I signed up for the airdrop just thinking like I have no idea what's gonna happen with this thing, but I watched Silicon Valley and I thought it was funny. But I don't know. It seems like they might actually be doing something with it, and they just gave it away for free for everyone. Like, the fact that it has a price means that people are willing to buy it. It's not necessarily that they're trying to like say it has value. There have been no promises of actually having value behind it. It's just
exactly.
kind of
So
like,
this
just
is, again,
a meme.
This is people paying for something that was given away for free. I mean, I don't get that. I never pay for anything that's free originally, and I didn't even know about it. I mean, JW, do you even know what they're talking about here? I hardly even.
I've seen the Pied Piper coin on Twitter, and I'm a fan of that account. Just the trolling account. I don't know if that's associated with the coin. If it is, I'd have to say I'm a fan of the coin. Like there's very few altcoin, garbage that I'm a fan of, but it would probably be at this point Pied Piper coin, Bitcoin Classic. I think is awesome. I think there's another one coming that's going to be fun that we're all going to enjoy, and then my number 2 coin, right? Like the best security designed Bitcoin, or the best security altcoin in existence, which is exactly a copy of Bitcoin. I literally just forked Bitcoin, didn't change anything, and as a result, it's better than all of the other altcoins from a security and design standpoint. But I won't sell it to you because I'm not a scammer. But
so you extended the chain by 1 block.
No, actually, I did. I mean, I forked it and I mined it just so that I could say that I did and tell people that I created this thing. And the only reason you can't have it is I'm not the kind of dirty son of a gun that would ever sell something that's garbage. But I promise you, it is the second best cryptocurrency in existence. It's completely a scam and it's completely garbage. And it is absolutely its namesake. It's number 2.
What could be 51% attacked at any time.
With the exception of hash power, of course. Yeah, I always say it's like the best designed and coded altcoin in existence.
All right, Chris, do you have conclusionary remarks? Anything that was left off? Anything you want to share?
No, I just think this was a great conversation. It was good coming on your show for the first time. Hopefully, I can get back on sometime.
Dude, man, you're a great rep, man. You know about all sorts of awesome things out there. You fulfilled all my expectations and more. Thank you very much. JW, what do you any conclusionary thoughts? Anything you wanted to share that was left?
Yeah, man, it was fun. I definitely enjoyed talking to you guys. I appreciate Chris for being able to have kind of an aggressive conversation and nobody got their feelings hurt, and we could just say our current understanding of the world. So that's always a unique and fun pleasure. So I appreciate you guys for that. And check out mathbot.com and hit me up on Twitter at weathermanIam.
Yeah, I feel like when you write code, you want to kind of disassociate yourself personally from it after you write it so you can stay objective to it. So I don't take any hard feelings to code criticism or algorithm criticism.
Awesome.
I just think it's a good other data point to consider.
I like what I'm hearing here. No feelings here, just facts. Let's keep it. I like this. That's what this is about. The pure numbers, dudes. We're not virtue signalers or anything like that. We're here to, to get back to reality. I'm liking what I'm hearing here. Kenn, so Kenn, you brought up that Piper coin or whatever, but anything else? Anything?
No, man, I'm just excited to see you in Canada, bro. That rodeo is gonna be a hoot.
Dude, man, BTC Benny's gonna be there. Vortex is gonna be there. I mean, I've never been to Alberta, and I've always thought about Alberta because Brett the Hitman Hart's from Calgary, and maybe when I was a youngster, I used to watch wrestling and stuff. But anyway, no, I love. Hey, I'm pumped about the Alberta. I'm pumped about This Week in Bitcoin. I'm pumped about all 3 of these guys that were on the show today. Check out their links below if you want to learn more about them. It was a great show today, and we do this show every Friday. I do a show on this channel every single day. And then on Saturday, it is the Beyond Bitcoin show. So tune in tomorrow for that. You never know when I'm going to be in your town, when you're going to meet me in person. I'll be in Florida on the 8th of June, and there'll be an event down there too. So I thank my guests again. I thank all the loyal watchers of the show. And I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Pound that like button. There's something popping up on your screen right now. If you're watching this tape, click on all of those things too. I will see you later. Have a great holiday weekend in the USA. Bye-bye.
You guys.
Dude, that was a great combo.